Greetings, growers. Jordan River here with more GrowCast. Today we have a breeder feature, a new breeder feature, Canna Queen Genetics. Maybe you've seen Canna Queen Genetics. Very interesting episode, talking to her about her path into the cannabis industry and her strains, of course, and much more. I know you will love it. Before we jump in with the Canna Queen, shout out to Photon Tech Lighting. I'm under my X600 by Photon Tech right now. You can get yours at growcastpodcast.com/photon. Use code GROWCAST for 5% off. Send us a snapshot of you using our code and be entered to win seeds every single month. Photon Tech. Like I said, I got the X600, but you can get away with the 465 easily in a 4x4 tent. They are very, very high powered. 1620 ppf on my 600 there. Very, very efficient. Got a 2.7 U-moles per watt on the integrated sphere test. Listen, this is top of the line stuff. A little bit cheaper than some of the other bar styles. All these bar styles are going to do you good, but I love the Photon Tech. I love the way it looks. I love the way it performs. I love the way it ships with the magnetic bars and the easy assembly. Huge fan of Photon Tech, aka Lumitech, which is what I got started with. So, growcastpodcast.com/photon. Use code GROWCAST. Unlimited entries on those codes, folks. Geez, that's a tongue twister right there. So send in as much as you want. All right, thank you so much for listening, everybody, and enjoy today's program. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to GrowCast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, I urge you to share the show. Spread the show with a grower. Tell a friend. It's how we grow. Make sure you're subscribed. Give us a good rating and review. Today, we've got a breeder feature. It's a bright and early morning here in the Midwest, and we have on the line, joining us through a cold, powering through a sickness, we have Canna Queen from Canna Queen Genetics. Thank you so much for joining us today, Canna Queen. I know you're not feeling the greatest, so we appreciate you powering through and coming on here to talk about your strains and drop some knowledge for the GrowCast audience. Thank you.
Yeah, Jordan, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And what's a little cold, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, especially now, right?
The grand scheme of things.
I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Super excited to dive into your genetics and your offerings at Canna Queen Genetics. Before that, though, give us a little bit of your background. How you came into the cannabis industry, how Canna Queen Genetics first got started, the whole thing.
Wow, that's a lot. So I've always known that cannabis has been, I'm just going to say it in like the most common way, but like it hits different. You know what I mean? Like all my friends are like, yeah, let's get high. And I was like, yeah, let me get this in my system so I could be a normal person. You know, like I have ADD and my brain is constantly, it's like 1,000 thoughts per second. And I just have to grab one and like try to hold on to it. So cannabis has always just like calmed me down to a point where I could actually think straight and like focus on one thought. And so I was probably about 13 the first time I ever tried it. But when I turned 15, it was an everyday thing for me.
Sure.
Whereas my friends would just, smoke when they were like, hanging out at parties and this, that, and the other. I was like every 3 hours, I was like, okay, I need to smoke, like I had to get it in my system.
Cannabinoid deficient, as they say.
Yeah. I didn't know what it was, but I knew my body knew I was missing something. So
it was medicine even back then.
Yeah, it was, right. And like back then, like I couldn't say that. I couldn't be like, hey, this helps me. Like people are like, why do you smoke so much weed? And I'm like, oh, because I'm stoner, man. Like you had to like get on their level, but like it was way more than that. So I would probably say about 16, I grew my first like a little outdoor plant. Yeah, it wasn't like, freaking hydroponics. Like I didn't even know what strain it was. It was a bag seed,
Still.
But
that's early.
Yeah, I tried my hand at growing, and then I actually met my ex-husband in 2003, and he joined the Army, and we traveled the country. We were all over.
Wow.
So I wasn't able to medicate with cannabis for a long time, and I think my life suffered. My quality of life suffered.
Sure.
Now looking back.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, my ex-husband we got stationed in Colorado, Fort Carson, and he got kicked out of the Army for testing positive for cannabis.
No shit.
And yeah, so we got kicked off post, and like, it was like this big thing, and he didn't get a dishonorable discharge. He actually got a general discharge, which now looking back, that was really nice of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it makes sense though. Like military people are like, they're kind of no nonsense. Yes, they're strict, but they're not going to give this. It's so funny that they just get out of here.
I know, and it sucks because like you have all these other soldiers who are like, like drinking or medicating in some other way that they wouldn't get caught, whereas cannabis stays in your system for a while. And
that's true.
And now looking back, like I don't know if they're obviously not bringing back people who were kicked out for cannabis, but I think they're being more lenient with it these days.
I heard that too. Good for them.
Veterans have a special place in my heart. Seeing as I was an Army wife, I lived on post at Fort Campbell, Kentucky for about 4 years. And some of the things that I saw there, like in a way gave me post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Right.
These guys aren't taken care of. They're not in any which way, when they're on the home soil taken care of. So one of my first, we'll have to like fast forward to like when I became a breeder, but one of my first ideas as a breeder was to make a strain aimed towards PTSD and like brain disorders.
Oh.
And like I said, we'll have to go back to that because I actually have the Alzheimer's gene. And so I'm actually formulating a strain for that as well. So,
that's wonderful.
But let's rewind back to Colorado in 2011. Yeah, 2011.
Okay.
I seriously started growing. My friend's husband was a veteran and he was growing in Colorado. And so I got to see I called it the pleasure room. I was like, can I see it? Can I go in there? Like, I just want to touch it. And so finally, he brought me in there and he actually started mentoring me and gave me a couple cuts. The first couple cuts I've ever grown from clone were Ace of Spades, Hollister Kush. Those are TGA strains. So yeah, I was bit by the bug and I have not stopped growing since then. But
nice.
Probably about a year and a half in, I was picked up from IG, crazy, just by posting pictures of my grow. I got picked up by a breeder in Spain and he was like, I like your style. He's like, I want to teach you how to breed. Like, obviously there was, some camaraderie between there. I wasn't just like, okay, sure, I'll breed for you. But we got to know each other and he sent me some genetics and he was like, play around, see what you do. So he sent me one of the strains is called Black Zombie. It was Zombie Virus times Black Domina by Matt Bortnick. And I was like floored. It was like a 45-day flowering strain. I was like, no way. Like, this doesn't happen. Like, and then like, the unique ones just started finding me. And I was like, okay, so growing is just not enough for me. I see that now. And so then I started breeding. So in 2015, I started breeding. So I was only growing for like 4.5, 5 years before I started breeding.
Wow. That's huge. And then even though you said it was just like a little bag seed thing, it's deep rich within you. You were destined for it. It seems like.
Yes. Thank you for seeing that too. Because when I tell people that, I feel like they're like, yeah, everybody says that. Sure you are, Canna Queen, the queen of cannabis. Like, what makes you the queen? And I'm like, you know what? Just check out my stuff and you'll see. Like, it's self-explanatory.
They used to have this belief that blue blood was something that you could see in a person, like in the medieval times. Like they were so noble that you could see it within them. So that's what I'm going to say about you, Canna Queen. Even back then when you were planting your bag seed, you had the destiny. Wow. You had the blue blood in you.
I feel that way now. Like looking back, I'm like, you know what? Like who knew? Like I feel so blessed because probably 90% of people will never get to do what they love and
Oh, exactly.
This is a dream. This is a dream job. This is like to be able to help people and like be able to create and just it's just an amazing. I'm just so blessed. I really am.
It's a level of gratitude that is hard to express. I'm in the same boat here, serving my audience and everything that comes with doing this show and being a podcaster for a living. It's like an insane level of gratitude. But that boils down to, if you think about human history and how for the majority of human history really didn't matter your race, sex, color, creed. You just toiled and died for most of human history. So I think the gratitude is important just to be a gardener. You know what I mean? Just to have time with your plants, just to live in the age we live in. We've got our own fucked up problems for sure. But I think that gratitude can boil all the way down to just being a grower, being in the garden. But I also know exactly what you mean, Canna Queen. I think we're vibing here. I do want to drill down on something though. I really want to before we get too far away from it.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the Alzheimer's gene.
Yeah.
I'm into health science, so like instantly that piques my interest. But more importantly, for the audience's sake, Is that your main value as a breeder? Making medicine, making potent medicine? What are you trying, like, yeah, what is your goals and values? What are your goals?
Yeah, thanks for bringing me back there, because it's a really pivotal point in like my breederhood. So a couple of years ago, I was taking care of my grandmother, who was in stage 7 of Alzheimer's, and I took care of the last 4 years of her life, and it was surreal to watch somebody deteriorate, like from like she would just start losing her keys to all the way to the end when she forgot how to swallow. And so like as I'm taking care of her and watching her starve to death, because that is the reality of it,
Right.
like they literally starve to death at the end. I was like, whoa, like I have 3 kids, and I could never imagine having one of my kids do what I was doing with my grandmother, because it was not, I don't want to say degrading, but it is, you know what I mean? Like you don't know what you're doing. And like, it is absolutely like, I don't even want to go into like the details, but it was horrific.
Right.
So at like towards the end there, I got really scared, because my grandmother was my closest paternal relative. And I was like, wow, like if she has it, I'm so close. Like I bet you I have it. And like little things. And I know a lot of people, like when they're talking, can lose their train of thought, but it happens to me probably 9 out of 10 conversations. And it's embarrassing. It's like, I just can't hold on to my thoughts. It's like quicksand through my fingers. Like if I don't grab one and hold on to it, like it's gone. So I went and I know that has a lot to do with like short-term memory loss.
I was going to say,
like,
I have a lot to say on that, but please continue.
I definitely know that, but like it's on a different level. You know what I mean? Like it's totally like people. We've actually made fun of it. I don't know if you've heard of Eagle, but I was on his show, fucking talking shit with Eagle, and I was like deep into breeding talk, right? And then all of a sudden I was like, what was I saying? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I squirreled out because I was embarrassed, and I wanted to I wanted to turn the conversation, and he just started laughing so hard. He goes, what did you just say? And like, I was like, I squirreled out, like over the hedge, like the squirrel. He's like, ooh, something sparkly, like, and so it was, now it's a term on his show, like people squirrel out all the time.
Oh,
like it's insane.
I like that. But no, that's just something you're concerned about.
It's my reality.
Exactly.
You know?
No, 100%. And cannabis, there needs to be more study on that. I know there's some really, really promising study. I'm not going to take a whole left turn here, but I work for a coffee company producing content, and there is a 2009 study that says that frequent coffee consumption can reduce risk of Alzheimer's. Get ready for this. By 65% by breaking down the plaques and tangles in your brain. Daily coffee consumption. Get the good stuff. Get organic, regeneratively farmed. But coffee and cannabis are the 2 plant medicines that fight a wide range of disease, from cancer to diabetes to Alzheimer's. Yeah. And it is about, I would like to send you some content once we're off air. Like I said, I don't want to bore the listeners, but I've done entire episodes on the plaques and tangles in your brain, the things that basically disrupt your cognitive function and cause things like dementia and Alzheimer's. And I will send you some really good resources after this.
That would be amazing. So yeah, when I found out that I had the gene, I obviously, at first I went through all the emotions. I was like a death sentence, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die like that. Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like it was like I had the plague, and like, I just had to start preparing for the, worst. But then I was like, let me get in front of this. Let me see what I could do to get in front of this. And so I already was doing the most important thing that I could do, and that was keeping cannabis and high levels of THC in my system to protect my neurons from calcifying and like eventually just dying off. So
yeah, 100%.
THC is a neuroprotector, acts as a shield, and so I started taking really high doses of RSO. Like every 3 days, I take about 1,000 milligrams of RSO, and I definitely keep my levels always high. And I'm doing what I possibly can as far as like my diet. And like, for what's crazy about the whole coffee thing is I never loved coffee, but like now I drink it every single day. And it's like, it's almost like your body's like, you need this, even though you don't love it. Like you need this. And like, so
you may have been sensing that. Yeah. I've heard, Dr. Sanjeev had talked about people who get liver transplants and need coffee. It's the highest source of antioxidants. This is not CoffeeCast. This is GrowCast, but I will send you a whole host of things from the Mediterranean diet.
So,
damn right. Oh my God. I get off on it so much, but I'll send you a whole host of resources from the Mediterranean diet to coffee and all those studies.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back with Canna Queen, but before that, gotta give some love to Delta Leaf Labs, the quickest, most affordable, accurate sex testing. DeltaLeafLabs.com. Use code GROWCAST and get free shipping. Plus, Delta Leaf Labs is giving away 10 free tests to a code user. Delta Leaf Labs. I do this every run, folks. Feminized seeds are good, but if you stick to feminized, you're kind of limiting your possible gene pool to select from. So go with regulars and then pay for the test. Stop wasting your time sex testing. You just crush up a cotyledon when it's young, ship it off, priority. A couple days later, you know what the males are, you know what the females are. Select accordingly. Don't waste fertilizer. Don't waste space. And most importantly, it just gets the kind of surprise out of the way. It gets your roadmap on track right away, as opposed to waiting for weeks for them to sex out and realize what you're working with. DeltaLeafLabs.com. Use code GROWCAST. And make sure to send us a snapshot too. You're entered to win free tests and free seeds that way. All right, everybody, let's get back to Canna Queen. Let's get into your strains, because you said you made a specific strain to help with things like PTSD. I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that strain. Talk to me about any of the strains that you want to highlight for my listeners right now who are interested in what you got to say.
Well, if I could be here all day, I would totally talk about all of them. But I my top three, and like my first one that I ever made was for that Spanish breeder. It was actually his strain called Nightingale, and it is a Harlequin times Sour Tsunami times an unknown West Coast strain. Now, let me just pause for a second, because I don't know if he put that in there. So like, people thought they couldn't remake it, or maybe he had a secret strain in there, or he didn't know what he used to breed with. But when I bred that strain, it's definitely a sativa dominant 3-to-1 CBD to THC strain.
Oh, wow.
It's been tested 11 to 18%. It's been proven to help with like Crohn's like the autoimmune disorders and PTSD and depression, anxiety. The list it goes on, because I don't know if you know about I'm sure you do, Harlequin and Sour Tsunami, but they're
very high CBD,
very super high. So, but in growing it and breeding with it, I think it has Sour D in it. I think that's the unknown West Coast strain. And let me pause, because I didn't cover this before, but I am an instinctive and intuitive breeder and grower. So, and honestly, sometimes when I say that, because I'm a female as well, it almost like automatically discredits me. They're like, oh, she just goes off a whim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, and she's a female too. Like, so.
No way.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised.
It's that female intuition. I'm a big believer in intuition. I'm a poker player, so you're not going to be able to sway me from knowing that the human brain has many, many capabilities of processing that we do not yet understand.
Tells. Yeah.
Plants do too. If your brain works hard.
Absolutely.
Plants have tells too. Sometimes you don't even know why you're picking up on them. And it doesn't make you a superhero. It just means you have a little bit of a knack.
No,
that's all. I think people get jealous.
Like, people are like, oh, maybe not jealous, but they get threatened. Like their ego or whatever, it gets threatened. And it's like, I'm not saying that growing book smart isn't the way to go. Like flip the page and read what to do and do it. Like, for sure, I definitely had to educate myself. It's not all been, sunshines and rainbows. And I'm like, oh, here I have to just. She needs magnet. She told me.
I know what input to add. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I obviously had to educate myself, and I read all the teamings. I read all the breeders' Bibles, Cannabis Grow Bible. Like I read it all. I did it all. And I took notes on the genetic equilibrium, the Harry Weinberg equilibrium. I've done it all, but nothing has compared to observation and physical experience, and getting to know my strains and like growing them over and over, and just observation. It's the biggest teacher. It's the biggest tell. Oh
my God. I love that. And my co-host Wolfman always says that. I mean, we literally produce a show to educate growers, and he says the best teachers are you and your plants.
Yeah.
Because you can read books all day, and you will have such a head start. You will save yourself so much time and headache by educating yourself. But if you never take that step and actually do it, like that's really when the rubber meets the road, and that's when the action happens. Reading books will only get you so far.
Exactly. Applying
it, exactly. That's some good grow advice, like some good general grow principles right there.
And the thing is, like, I spend a lot of my time educating and being there for the community. And I get DMs all the time, like, is this a male? Is this a female? What happened? Can I do this? Do I water with
Sure.
this? And I always take time out for these people, because when I first started out, I couldn't really tell a lot of people that I was a female. And I obviously a lot of us were underground. So it was the forums for us. And it was, for a long time, I didn't pretend to be a guy, but I didn't say I was a female. So like, oh, dude, bro, I got you. Like, yeah, dude. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, like, I just went with it. And for a long time, like, it was hard to like step out and be like, hey, like, this happened and I don't know why, or this light, does this and blah, blah, blah. So it was harder to find the information for me back then. And so like, I just wanted to be so readily available for these newer growers, because if I could prevent some of the problems that I had when I was a new grower for them, it would only make their lives go a little bit smoother. I'm not saying like prevent the problem ever. I'm just saying like maybe help them identify it and move forward from that moment. And then, next time they won't make that mistake. Or if they do, they'll recognize it,
Accelerate the learning process 100%. That is the key. That is 100% the key. But we were left off on your medicinal strain, which I don't think we got the actual name of the cross. And also, follow-up question, is this cross still available to this day?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so that strain that I first made for the breeder was Nightingale.
Oh, Nightingale. Okay, sorry, you did say that.
And then I F3'd it, and we're still on good terms, but we actually just parted ways, and I don't want to say too much on it, but anyway, I fit the F3. It's called Three Little Nightingales, and it was a play off Three Little Birds for my CBD strain. Every little thing is going to be all right,
Oh, I love it.
So Three Little Nightingales is the name of the strain, and it is an F3 of the Harlequin Sour Tsunami Unknown West Coast strain, and it has become a building block for a lot of my other strains to add some medicinal value to them. So the strain that I made for the veterans charity strain is called Three Blue Stars, and it is crossed.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's crossed to my Three Little Nightingales crossed to the Blue Tree Stars, which is Blue God, which has blueberry F4 times Godbud times. Jeez. Yeah, I know. And then
you got some pretty unique stuff. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you've got some unique genetics.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wanted to set myself apart in that way. And like a lot of people are like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do Skittles? Why don't you do look, there's enough, and I'm not talking crap by no means. Like cookies is not my 100% thing, but there's so many people that are doing the Skittles and the runts and the hype and this and that. Like, why do you need me? Like, I'm going back. Like, I want to go back to like some triple land races, and I want to go back to like the Crippy and the BC bud and the nostalgia of it. Anyway, that's where my mind was going when I created the Queen White Haze. That's my legacy strain. That's the strain I built my company on. It was originally a collaboration I did with another breeder, and we ended up parting ways. So I called it the Queen White Haze, and it is Oro Blanco by Bodhi, which is the white times Wookiee, 15 times Miami Heat, which is triple OG times Miami Haze. So it's like an OG haze. Like in the F1s, you'll find a lot more haze, but when I F2'd, F3'd, F4'd, and now I'm working on the BX1, I went more towards the OG, the Kush side of it, only because like medicinally, like, and like for my preference, like that was just the more impressive side of that.
Sure.
But I have all generations released and available. The F1s, the F2s, the F3s, the V2s, which is the F4, and then I'm working, like I said, in production with the BX1 right now. So
wow. I guess this is a good time to ask, where can we go? My listeners are sold. They want to try one. Where can we find them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my website, cannaqueengenetics.com, and you can't actually purchase from that site, but you can hit me up on my email, cannamafia420@gmail.com for a full menu, and we can go from there. Right now, exclusively, my seeds are you can only get them through me right now. So
nice. All right, everybody, go and hit it up. Hit up the website. Hit up the email. Fantastic. Now, what are some other offerings you have? Are they all? This is not. I'm not saying this in a denoting derogatory term at all. Are all of your strains medicinally focused? Do you have any that you said like, all right, this is the hard hitter? Or even among the medicinal ones, like tell me about some of your other offerings and what they achieve.
Okay, so actually, I didn't focus a lot on the CBD one. I did cross it out to a couple different strains that were magnificent. So I have three little unicorns. I have anything with a three in front of it is medicinal, like it's a CBD strain.
Okay.
But Queen White Haze is definitely number one. Lemon Delight is definitely number two. We've seen it grown all over the world.
Ooh.
It was grown in a show called Operation Grow Show season 2. It was a mystery strain. They actually didn't even know what they were growing until about week 4 or 5.
I remember that show. That's right. I think Rizo Rich was on Operation
Yeah,
Grow.
Rizo was. Yeah, he actually grew the Lemon Delight, and it was grown in South Africa by Delta 9. And I just have to say, like, hands down, best pheno I've ever seen. Like, it blacked out completely. The leaves were black, like completely.
Wow, maybe it had something to do with the environment. You know, we just had somebody talking about that.
They just really show all these phenotypical expressions, like,
whoa,
like just to the fullest potential.
In South Africa.
Yeah, so we have them in Scotland. I have my guardsman team. I have to shout them out. Canna Queen's guardsmen. Wow, I love you guys. I wouldn't be where I am without you guys. But they're all over the country. We have Oregon, we have Oklahoma, Canada, South Africa, Scotland. I mean, they're all over, and they truly are my biggest cheerleaders. They not only grow and promote my gear, but they've just been just amazing. Just had my back 100%, and so I just have to shout them out.
Wow, I'm looking right now at images of Lemon Delight. Wow, just wow.
Yeah, phenomenal. So that strain was crossed with the Lemon Royale by Swamp Boys, and that's lemon trees times GMO TK skunk, and then cross that to the Queen White Haze. Yeah, so
nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You got some Florida. That's great. Little Florida influence on that. Wow. Interesting. Lemon Delight. These are from your website. Yeah, some of these pictures are excellent. Quite excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Good yield, it looks like, on that Lemon Delight. Some fat colas.
Yeah, I have like a fan favorite. Definitely is the Lemon Delight. Like, I had a couple other strains that I made during that run it was like an open pollination run with the Queen White Haze. I did the Chemtrail Haze, which is the Chemstar by Top Dog Seeds. So it's Chemdog times Star Dog times Queen White Haze. Phenomenal if you like chems. And then I have my Bubblegum Princess, which is the Bubblegum Diesel to the Queen White Haze. And it's like Bubblicious, grape Bubblicious bubblegum all the way. Amazing. Super frosty.
Oh, I just ran across that on your website.
Yeah, and if you want better pictures, you can go to my IG page. It's Canna_Queen_Genetics_Co. And all my highlights, every strain I have available is in my highlights. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they'll Instagram is probably where most people will rush to first. I just saw the Bubblegum Princess has this little busty girl artwork, but then when you click on it, you get to see the
my logo artist. I have to shout him out too. Medicated Gaming 215. He is a visionary. He did my gas mask logo and all my strain logos. And I have to say, like, coming out as a female breeder in 2018 with Canna Queen Genetics Company, I had a lot of let me just say hesitation, like, who is this? Like, where'd she come from type thing. So when I had these logos done, it was probably the second most legitimacy thing, like, that had that, people are like, okay, she's got a cool logo, she's got a cool name, she's got fire strains, okay, let me see who she is.
It's sad that that's what tips them over the edge, but also it's also sad, though, that so few breeders do their own original art. Your Queen Haze looks dope. You have the evil queen there. Your 3 blue stars art looks dope. It doesn't take a fortune to do. What are you going to sell, 1 pack and it's going to pay for the art that you just created? I don't know why more breeders don't do original art. That's always baffled me.
Yeah, I definitely think that people love to have something associated. Like, say they grew the 3 blue stars and it was like medicinally, I've had veterans, literally, when I had it tested, I sent it to people who had either TBIs or PTSD or something to that effect. And every single one of them that grew it was like, this is medicine. This is magic medicine. Like, this is like,
that's great.
They could function normally. You know what I mean? Like, the reports that I got back, it's like, I do want to rewind because I remember you asking me, like, what made me, like, what was the moment where I thought that I wanted to breed for either helping or.
Sure. Yeah. We've been all over the place, but please bring it back. I love it. It's great. We talked about this off air. We both have ADD and you know what? It's lovely. But please go back to that.
We keep it fresh, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So one of the first runs I ever had, and it was like my first legitimate run. Like, I had like Raptor thousand watts HPS. Like I had the, inline fans, like the whole nine, and like I had my first like real true good run. And I think a lot of people can relate. Your first run is always your best run because like everything's new and it just, everything goes right.
So true.
So I grew Ace of Spades, and at the time I didn't know that it had like a CBD type of effect to it. And I don't think it had a huge CBD. I think just the medicinal values of the cannabis in itself. But I had an upstairs neighbor, and this is kind of a long story, but this is like what made me decide that I was gonna, move forward with helping people as far as like making strains or growing strains. And so anyway, long story short, he's 25. He was medically discharged from the Army. He had epilepsy, and he was addicted to spice. So on top of having epilepsy, he was smoking spice, and he was having up to like 14 seizures a day.
Oh,
his tongue looked like hamburger meat because he had bit down on it so many times. Oh. And his wife, they were young, they were 25 years old, and she'd come running downstairs like, he's having a seizure, I need your help, blah, blah, blah. So I go up there, and it was traumatic every time, I had to go up there and help her. And so I'm like, I wish he wouldn't smoke that spice anymore. I wish he would try this. Like, I'm growing, cannabis. Like, he's got to try it. She's like, oh, well, it doesn't even get him high. And I'm like, that's because he has a buildup of chemicals inside of his body, and it won't allow him to,
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, take this bag of Ace of Spades. It was an ounce. And I was like, take this and let him smoke it to the head. Like, let him have it all. Like, tell me what it does. Because it was kind of like my way of testing the cannabis too. Like,
sure.
What do you got?
Yeah.
So it probably took 30 days before he wasn't smoking the spice anymore. And then another 45 days before he finished the bag of cannabis that I had given him. But she came down and she was like, I just have to tell you that it's been 37 days since she's had a seizure. And
wow,
it improved not only his quality of life, but like their life together. Like, anyway, that was it for me. That planted the seed.
Oh God.
And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I need to do. And so instead of just growing cannabis, I knew, like, at that point, I knew it wasn't enough for me. So that's when I
that is very inspiring. Yeah. It's very inspiring, Canna Queen. I battled with epilepsy myself, and those grand mal seizures are like, they are the worst. They're horrifying. They're literally horrifying.
And especially for somebody who doesn't understand. Like, you look like a corpse, like convulsing on the ground. Like, it is so scary. And like, to have more than one of those a day, like, I can't even imagine. So
that's what I was just going to say. I would have one occasionally throughout the month, and it was like this devastating, life-changing thing, and they hook you up to all these machines and stuff. So for you to see your medicine cure that in somebody, which, by the way, it does. Epilepsy is different in all sorts of people, but it does cure it in some people. That had to have been extremely rewarding, and clearly that was the point when you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to dedicate my life to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, the whole veteran strain thing, it just came along when I had made the 3 Little Nightingales. Okay, so like 3 years ago, I had a booth at Kushstock in Michigan. Shout out Michigan, all my Michigan peeps.
I'm about to move there. That's dope.
Yeah, I'm actually having my very first annual Canna Queen Cup / Secret Sesh in April from the 16th to the 19th with my crew. We're just kind of doing a dry run of the Canna Queens Cup. We're going to do blind judging and like joint rolling competitions, and it's just going to be awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a traveling event. Like, so this year it's going to be in Michigan. Next year is probably most likely going to be in Oklahoma, and then the year after that, Massachusetts. So like, if you can't travel to the event, the event will come to you. So
that's dope. I love that. I would love to get it on one of those Canna Queen cups.
Yeah. So everybody who's coming who actually got to RSVP has either is growing, or will have Canna Queen gear to bring to the cup for judging. We're going to do an overall, like, best flower, but it doesn't have to be Canna Queen gear. But then we're doing like a blind judging best Canna Queen gear competition. So
cool.
It's going to be so cool. Yeah. But back to Kushstock in 2019, it was my very first event, and I had no freaking idea that it was a free event. Well, I knew it was a free event, but I didn't know like what kind of crowds. It was my very first event ever. So it was a free event, so it was like not a growers event. So I learned a very powerful lesson that day. That people don't come to free smokers events to buy seeds, and that's just all there is to it. So I sold about 4 packs of seeds that day. And but before we even got to Kushstock, like, I had made some capsules of 3 Little Nightingales, and I was like, yeah, I got to take some of these, like, get through the day, make sure my mind is clear, blah, blah, blah. So like we were running late, and like it was, we didn't know what to expect, and like my friend was like, "Oh my gosh, we're late. We have to drive 45 minutes to get there." We were in Ann Arbor, and it was in Clio, and blah blah blah. So I was like, "It's fine. Everything is fine." Like I wasn't freaking out. I wasn't anxious by any means. Like it was really awesome, and that's when I realized that this little three little nightingales. Even though you don't feel anything, if you're in tune with your body, like you realize that it's magic medicine.
Oh man, I am all about the plant medicines. It sounds like that's what your whole mission is at Canna Queen Genetics. So I'm just thrilled. Everybody, cannaqueengenetics.com, but also find her on Instagram, and cannaqueengenetics.com email will be found on that website. That's Canna Mafia?
Canna Mafia
You'll find the email on the
420
website.
at Gmail.
There you go.
Yep.
Boom. There you go, everybody. Any final words before we wrap it up, Canna Queen? What's next? What strains do you have coming down the pipe for the future?
Yeah, so I know I was talking about Skittles and Runts and all that earlier, but I had done a cross with the Forbidden Candy by Aficionado, and it's Skittles times Royal Kush times Highland Afghani.
It's in your garden now.
It's in my garden now. It's all up in there. But I crossed that to the X18 as a pure Pakistani indica, crossed to the White by White Buffalo Seed Company. And I'm S3ing those right now. So they will be ready for testing, and like every strain that I ever release, it goes through vigorous testing, and then sometimes doesn't even get released. It comes back to me and I do more testing or forward it, and then it goes back to my test team. So we just want to make sure we're getting you guys solid genetics, and I like to see them grown out a lot before I put them out there.
I like that a lot, man. Thorough testing with the Canna Queen Genetics.
Yeah.
And
the guardsman.
Go and get it, everybody. Yes, absolutely. I guess that's all, Canna Queen. This was a lovely episode. We'd love to have it back anytime. We were supposed to talk about breeding tips and all of this. I've actually got another interview coming up here at the top of the hour. But anything else you wanna say before we wrap up?
Busy guy. No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to give me a voice because not many people have done that. So kudos to you and your podcast. And I just thank you so much for having me.
Of course, you're going to see a nice little influx.
Because I want to talk more about breeding.
Yeah, we should do a breeder episode. That would be cool. Or like a home breeding tips, or just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like you and I could probably just rap about growing. But throw out the Instagram one more time. Is it just Canna Queen Genetics on Instagram?
It's Canna_Queen_Genetics_co.
There you go. That's where you're going to see a large influx, because a lot of our listeners are active on Instagram. So go and give her a follow, everybody. Show her some love and show her what GrowCast can do. That's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. This is Canna Queen from CQ Genetics and Jordan River from GrowCast saying, be safe out there, everybody. We'll catch you next time, and grow smarter. That's our show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Plant Success, our partners for today. We love Plant Success. Pick them up in your local hydro store. Plant-success.com, of course. Plant Success, the makers of Great White, a wonderful myco product. Orca, a liquid myco product that I absolutely love. And now the King Crab. Just used it yesterday. Plants are praying and happy. High quality concentrated beneficial bacteria. Plant Success is a good addition to anybody's garden. So pick it up in your local store, everybody. Plant Success, proud partners at GrowCast. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate you all. Patreon.com/GrowCast. You know the drill. Thanks to Jay Blanks for doing the beat. Find him on SoundCloud. And we'll see you next time on GrowCast, everybody. Happy growing. Bye-bye.